Okay, I've restarted my computer. These last few days, I was trying to use Blender with the streaming. It's not been very successful, mainly because my computer tends to lag out and then the stream stops. So I might have to chill on Blender for a while. So I figured out a new way to do that. Just too many things going on, I guess. But we did export something that supposedly has changed the attributes on, and I did verify it. However, it appears to maybe have corrupted some of the vertices or something because it's changed the sale. But I do want to try to verify that it did something that we can at least make. If we can see the attributes, that would be a good start. If this does not work, then I will probably move on to something else for now and come back to this later. But I really do want to get this to work, so I probably will be coming back to this quite often. Maybe doing some research, seeing if anyone else has ever done this before, because I'm sure someone has. All right, so I want to try to change this print. Basically, is there any way we can cycle through the vertices and check if each vertice has the attribute scale, right? Or LBL. So is this possible? Basically change the way we're printing, cycle through the vertices, check if there's an attribute. What do you think? And then if this doesn't work, I will probably go to this part. I might skip the browser and tools MCP today. I think I'll just do a little bit of this every day, see if I can get this to work, and probably one day I'll get it. So let's see what it did here. So it's sampling the vertices. So also another thing, I like to only run this once. So just try to run it once in the file because we don't want to spam the, and can you make the sample like 2000 vertices or something? I don't know if that link is correct. Probably not, right? Return it back to the thinking model. That one is better. I like to modify the print. So basically, for the dump object of the model, I like it to run it once, and it should dump a sampling of the vertices. And basically, I want to see if the sale or LBL attribute exists within it. So try to run it once and print a bunch of vertices to try to check if it's there. Also, can you let me know, is it possible to even get the vertices in this binary or no? Wait, it's doing new things now. I wonder if the MCP would work now. Let's try it next. I can just add this, right? And this one's capital. So just probably add two. I can just make sure it accesses it once, right? And is it only printing this dump object once? Cool. All right, that makes some sense. Let's try it out. Is it regularly being called? I'm getting this before the boat renders, so can you make sure the boat has fully rendered before printing? That's really complicated. Just make it a really simple. Make this change really simple. Don't add a bunch of stuff like this. Try to see if it's rendered first. Actually, just delay it. Just delay it 5 seconds before running. That's the simplest. Yeah, that's much better. We do not need it to be super crazy. Interesting. So it's still doing this. Any idea why this is just printing this and no vertice information or anything? Let me look at both, just making sure, not going crazy. What does it return? It's a 3 dot group. Ah, interesting. Okay, this might work. On zero sail meshes. Okay, but the mesh is not called sail. The mesh is called something else. Yeah, so the mesh itself is not called sail. Can you just get there's only one mesh within this boat, um, GLB file. So can you just get any mesh that exists? Um, I think uh, I think they'll just get better and better. Right now, it's really good. You can do a lot of stuff, and it's good at certain tasks. Integration between files, not so great, but it's been every year. Seems like the models are getting better. So I think it'll just get easier and easier to write code. Um, that's not much of a prediction, I guess, but it's just what I think. I think it's pretty certain. Okay, interesting. It's finding stuff. This is what I wanted. Okay, so it's finding 24 vertices. Oh, and then it finds another mesh. So this is the material, right? And then it finds the actual mesh here. And it samples 10 vertices, but we want a much bigger, sampling. Because we'll just do like 2000 or something. So if we go to the dump object, it's somewhere. It's not calling it. There it is. And it should say 10 somewhere. So let's just make this 2000. Okay, so yeah, no attributes found. Hold on, let me open it back up in Blender. This keeps crashing my computer with the streaming and everything, but I restarted it, so maybe it'll work. So I'm gonna go into the game. I'm going to go into the assets. But I have to do this. I keep forgetting that. Import this one. Ah, see, it's not exporting the actual attributes for delete this cube here. Hmm. Okay, let me look something up. I'll probably work on this for like a little longer, then I'll move on to something else. But I think this is possible. It's just when I'm exporting it somehow, it's not saving my stuff that I did. I'm gonna just make sure. Yeah, see, it's just not exporting the attributes and stuff. Like if I click here and I go to the attributes, it's not here. Well, I'll do that another time. So let's start the other stuff on the to-do list. First, I'm going to move this stuff here. Okay, so I'm gonna try this new prompt here because it seems to be something that might be interesting. One of the bugs we had yesterday is these invisible monsters, so let's give it a shot. Let's see, there's one more thing we would like, probably, I can say it right. Let's mention it. Maybe, all right, sea monsters. Yeah, that's kind of what I do a lot of times. I get in a hole with some of the changes, and I'll just kind of undo it and try a different way of prompting. I think as time goes on, it should just get a bit easier. But there'll probably, for a while at least, still be some of that. So I notice it happens after I kill a monster. There'll be another, they'll become invisible. So try starting with that information. Oh yeah, so to undo, there's these restore checkpoints. So you go up before you made a change. There's not on this chat, but it will say it right here. And you click restore checkpoint and it'll move you back. So I'll usually just try a few things. And if it gets confusing or I feel like we're just not making progress, just go back, try again later. I have a bunch of branches with stuff in this code base. Like this was the PvP I was working on where I just like basically said, hey, I'm going to do some code changes for a while and just leave it here for a while, and then I'll get back to it some other time to try to make it work. So that's kind of my strategy. It's just like creating a branch for something I think is going to be something I'll need to mess with for a while. Yeah, and I guess one thing, basically, this is called GitHub Desktop. It's kind of a way to manage your project. There's a little bit of a learning curve with it. You got to know some terms if you haven't used Git before, but it's a pretty good way to get started because the alternative is you do all the commands in the terminal. But once you get this kind of set up, it's also nice for this kind of moving, or you call them checkpoints, I guess. Like, yeah. So I'm gonna add this logging here. It's kind of funny. Sometimes they just fall forever. It's kind of weird. Um, all right, so is he still there? Right, he is still there. So let's look at the. It's probably this, man. Reduced opacity to 0. That sounds very suspicious. Because that means it's just making it invisible, not necessarily removing it. So I'm seeing this code where it's reducing opacity to 0. Why do we do this? Because if we're reducing the opacity, shouldn't we just remove the monster? What's the point of this? Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. Without Git, it can become kind of challenging. Because like, let's say you get into a weird state and you don't remember all the changes. This keeps track of everything, right? So every time I want to say, okay, I'm in a good state with the project, we made a little progress, I'll just be like, update with some change here. I'll click this commit, and then it will save it, that state. And let's say I make a bunch of other changes that mess it up, then I can always just click, do this and just discard them. Get rid of this recent changes, start back where I was. Um, so that's super handy. Without it, I don't it'd be really hard because I don't really remember everything that was changed. Yeah, so if I were you, I'd just look up GitHub Desktop, download it, and maybe look up some tutorials. And once you get the hang of it, it'll be pretty useful. Okay, so all right, it's meant to create a visual effect, of course. Can you actually make it so once their opacity um, goes to 0, we just remove them from the scene, right? Why don't we do that? Whether they're gone, I don't really know the point. Yeah, no problem. Free. Ask any other questions. Let's see if they're still there. Oh, they are. Okay. That's another reason. So even though we did that, the monster is still invisible. Can you check Monster Manager if we're doing that too, setting the opacity to 0? Can you make sure in both Sea Monster and in the Monster Manager and Chunk Entity Controller that when the monster dies, they're removed from the arrays? Look at all these monsters. They're just like falling forever. Interesting. I'll try to fix all this stuff today with the weird behavior of everything. Where's it going? Oh, I see the issue. We have three different monster maps, which can we just make sure there's only one monster map? So, well, I guess first we'll do it this way. I mean, this is just kind of like a hack, right? Not really. So it should only be in the chunk entity controller. That's sort of the place of truth that this is where the monsters exist. And just do this for now. In order to get the monsters in the other files, you need to import them from this file. Let's just start with the sea monsters file. So do it there first. I'm gonna turn the server back on. Oh yeah, so I use this thing called Whisper Flow. You can use that in any text box, and it makes you go a little faster. Also, I find it helpful to speak out loud when I'm thinking. Okay, it's fine. Okay, can you do the same in Monster Manager? Only use the array and chunk entity controller for the monsters. Also, expose a new function called set monsters. So that way you can edit it that way instead of the other way. Oh, remove the active monsters, which is good. What's this stuff? Okay, cool. Let's check it out. So I need to update some imports. Let's go look at the here. We just got to add an export here. So sometimes it doesn't do that. Maybe some more export stuff, remove entity. So we don't have a remove entity. So we got to add that. So it's going to paste this error. So I'm getting this error. I don't think we have this function. Can you add it if we don't? Oh yeah, right, in the coffee shop, yeah. That's true. I only use it at home, the whisper flow. Um, yeah, it'd be cool if it just read my thoughts and I don't have to worry about that. MC chunk amp not defined. I'll just plug that error in. Can you fix this? It's probably just some ordering issue. See, my iPad's gonna die. No, it's still not charging for some reason. Okay. Weird. There we go. Guess the cord just stopped working. Okay, well, it's a good sign that it's loading. You try to kill something. Nice. Oh, nice. See, the invisible monster thing is fixed. No longer there. It's good. Let me see what it looks like with the water. Okay, so I added the water back. Let's see, this works pretty well. Nice, nice. Oh, yeah, nice. Oh, all the monsters vanished. So something weird happened. But overall, pretty good. So I'm gonna kill a few and see what happens. So I guess they're just kind of falling through the world or something. Do they ever come back, or they just because they do dive, but I think they're still going. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and oh no, they're coming back actually. Just that's crazy. Yep, they're gone. It's kind of funny. They're so fast. Jesus. All right, let's change the maybe the diving amount or something right in here. So the dive time and the depth. Let's just do like -5. Let's just do 0 just to see that it's working, that the variable's working. Oh, so it's definitely not working. So can you point me to where the dive depth is? Because right now the monsters just sort of dive a really long time and they go extremely deep. Can you point me to where all the places where this could potentially be happening? Also, I'm gonna change this to 0 or maybe just 1. See what happens. I like the mud crab of this game. All right, I think, okay, so a few things. Let's remove how fast they're moving. Nice. That looks a lot better already. It's kind of insane before. You think even slower, honestly. Like they should be pretty chill. They're not. I guess too slow, obviously. Um, I guess still too slow somehow. Yeah, these monsters should be pretty chill. Like you just kind of like, and maybe a little faster, but other than that. Okay, and then let's add back the water. Try to test the. Okay, yeah, like that. It's a little bit pretty chill. Just kind of shoot them. So let's say I enter a new area. I'm wondering if they spawn now. Okay, maybe slightly too slow, right? I'm just kind of testing it out for a little bit. I guess maybe make the can shot a little faster. Kind of interesting. I don't know if it's fun, but it's something. Obviously, the camera, the positioning of the cannonball, like where it goes, is based on your camera. So that's a little janky. Oh, there's still an invisible one. Interesting. So I'm gonna discard this. So this needs to beget monsters from the chunk instead of sea monsters file. Can you make a get monsters in this file? We're going to be using this. In the get monsters, can you make sure to export all the same stuff? So we should have access to everything. No, I'm saying for the information, like for example, in sea monsters, we export the position, rotation, all that stuff too. Let me check something real quick. Yeah, I did remove this function. Okay. What is all this stuff here that we just removed? I mean, I think we need all this stuff, right? Like, you can't just remove everything. I'll call this get all monsters. And just return the thing from up here. Okay, that makes some sense. Um, nice. That looks pretty good. Not very laggy, still invisible ones though, which is weird. I can kill the invisible ones at least. So. It's probably just something related to opacity or something. So now let's try to get it working so when you leave the chunk, it despawns them and respawns them correctly. It's the next step. And then we'll try to work on the other abilities to get them working too. So let me just make sure. I think there's already code in here for this, so I'm gonna check if it's working already. Can you add back the despawning logic? So basically when we leave the chunk after certain visibility, they should disappear. I think it's commented out or something. Getting beaten up by the invisible ones. All right, we disabled it for testing, so. Oh, let's just try that. Okay, cool. Yeah. And then every time I come back, there's more, right? That's kind of the problem. Okay, just making sure. Okay, number one, can you reduce the spawning rate of the monsters? Just make like just a few. It should be very minimal. Okay, didn't change anything, so let me check something. Can you check if there's some conflicting code in Monster Manager for spawning the monsters? Because right now there's still a ton. So same with sea monsters. Cool, definitely way less, just a few. All right, let's try leaving and coming back. Okay, so every time I leave and come back, there's more, right? So that's, whoa, crap. I'm totally lost. All right, I'm gonna restart. Okay, there's one right over there. So if I go away, he despawns and I come back. Okay, now there's two, right? Go away, come back. Now there's four. Okay, now there's tons. Okay, so that's definitely what's happening. So every time I leave and come back, there's more spawning. So I want to make it so that doesn't happen. So when you leave and come back, it should still be the same. It shouldn't be a ton more. So it needs to keep track of that. Is there any spawning logic in this file? We want to make sure there isn't, just in case it's conflicting. But others, yeah. Okay. Okay, that's not being used. So we can remove this function. Just remove everything that's not good. So once your file gets too big, it can't actually read what's in the functions. So that's kind of nice to know. Seems to happen around, I guess, 2,000 lines, I guess. All right, let's see if any spawn. Cool. So they're still spawning, which is good. See if I go back. Nice. Cool. So that means we've removed some logic that was causing some problems. Okay, so when I leave and come back, the monsters are no longer there. Can we make sure that they appear again? Yeah, let's try it. Okay, so we've left, let's come back. Nice. We have one. That's pretty good. Oh, there's another. Okay, I don't see any, but I think the percent chance that they're spawning is low. So let's just check again. Make it 100% chance. So we make the percent chance that they spawn pretty high. So there should definitely be in each chunk a few. All right, so I removed some logic about spawning the monsters. Oh, someone joined. Who is it? Okay, so the logic for the spawning is all here. Looks like the logic for the spawning is in the spawn monster and chunk. Let's modify this so it just spawns a few of them. So right now I'm working on trying to make it so when I leave and come back, that they still spawn. Because I'm going to make it so when you leave a chunk, they despawn. When you come back, they spawn again for performance. Still spawning a lot of them, which is kind of weird. All right. It's still spawning like a ton of them, so can you double check that there's no conflicting stuff? Let's see, is the other person me? Oh yeah, it is, right. No, no, it's not. Right, we have two functions here. Okay, I didn't really see any changes. Okay. Oh, nice, they appeared again, which is good. They appeared once and they didn't appear again, which is weird. Wonder if it has to do with the thing where it's like 15% chance. Okay, they're still here. If I leave, okay, now they're not. I'm just gonna go back and forth a few times. Okay. There's still a ton spawning, so yeah, I saw that, Carson, at the uh that's definitely a problem. Press Windows H for Windows Voice. Oh, I didn't stop right. Oh, it's interesting, Rob. I haven't actually tried Windows Voice on a MacBook, so um, I wouldn't be surprised. Um, yeah, so it's a good suggestion if I ever switch to Windows. So I'm gonna try a new prompt that I've been looking at for this particular issue. So see if this works. So there's still a ton spawning, and when I leave and come back, they're not appearing anymore. Can you? The only thing about this prompt, I have a feeling it's just gonna add a bunch of prints like everywhere, which is a little annoying to clean up. All right, yeah, so still spawning a ton. So let's look at the. So I leave and come back. What will it print? That's the question. So now it just has two, right? Let's say I leave and come back again. That's 0. So that when I first joined the game, there's 22 monsters. If I leave and come back, there was 2 monsters, and when I leave and come back to the chunk, there's 0 monsters. So there's probably a few different issues here. Number one, let's just start with the fact that there's 22 monsters right when I join. Somehow they're spawning a ton of them. So some code is doing that, and we know it's this function. So when I comment out the function that I attached, then nothing spawns. So it's definitely something in here. See, this approach is just kind of adding a bunch of prints, so there's like no attempted solution. So I actually don't really like this prompt very much, to be honest, because that's a lot of prints that I have to monitor. Yeah. Wait, what the heck? What is happening with the birds deck? Holy crap! Now close the tab. All right, and I'm gonna undo the changes. Okay, I am gonna comment. I am gonna keep the changes to sea monsters up because we did remove some good stuff, but there are definitely some changes in here that are not good. So I'm gonna just keep this here and probably remove this as well. Well, I'll see. I'll see if it still is there. All right, let's just make sure. Okay, the birds are fine now. So what are these uh, little rectangle things? circles. Hmm. Okay. So first I'm going to make sure something, I'm going to just, in the spawn monster section, it is in here. I think we're just going to redo this. I'm going to return. And then there should be no monsters anywhere. I don't think there should be errors either. Yeah. Okay. And we're just going to recreate that function again. And just make sure that nothing is spawning. Okay. Actually, this is not a complicated function. We can just do this. This is a very short function. Just change it to this, to test. So it just spawns 2. Interesting. Let this out. All right, so we're currently debugging this monster thing, which is pretty weird. So I set it to 1. So it looks like it still spawns a ton. Let me check. All right, we set this to null. So I think the issue has to be in this create monster function, which is why it was struggling. Yeah, see, something is awry in the monster function. This is weird. It likes to do this type of notation. Don't really see before. Dot create function options. Okay. Wait a second. Is it going in here? Because I thought I commented this stuff out. And if it's going in here, that's probably why. Let me just make sure. If it is, that would explain a lot. Is there any other function of this that's being used? It's just return everything. I don't see anything responding, so it's probably not. So let's look again. So in here, and I'm just gonna sanity check this. Actually, I'm gonna sanity check this. If I remove this register entity, I just do scene.add, is it gonna stop spawning a million? Still spawning a million. Yeah, I'm gonna sanity check this next. Definitely should not appear. Very mysterious. Yeah, that's very weird. There's got to be another create function. I have to comment this out. Yes. Oni, you smell horrible. So so gross. He's farting on it. Comes over here. All right. It's whatever this is doing. So I don't really understand this code, so I'm gonna ask. So this code, where is it going? Create function. When I remove it, it stops spawning a million of them. So type info dot creates, and then it's, I guess, whatever the config is, right? No, it's actually not right. No, 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 no. So it's actually still spawning a million of them, even with the scene add code commented out, which means this code has to be responsible for it. That cloud is not understanding. Actually, I have to figure it out. Partly it's this notation. So type info and monster types, which is a map. Where is it populated? Set type ID. Where do we call this? Here. I'm gonna comment out all this register stuff. Except one. So now it's still printing a 10. But what we do know is if I comment out this, it's going to stop for sure. Yeah, okay. So we know that at least, which means the problem is probably related to somewhere in here, right? For each tentacle, that should be fine. We comment this out. Nothing should appear. Yes, probably an error though. Nope. So we go in here. Ah, register entity. We're adding it twice, right? I'm gonna remove this. So it was adding it to the scene, but we just want the monster manager to be the one to add it to the scene. So let's go back to the actual code. Here, which is in here, and then you go here and you comment this out. Okay, so now we have a few, or no, I think it's still the same actually. Frustrating. This code is, oh, you're reading some error messages from the terminal? Yeah, I don't know if they're related because the code on production is probably different from what I'm doing here, which is a little, I think this whole spawning the monster thing is a little bit over complex. Like it's kind of just spaghetti, I would say. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Actually, this is my fault. I'm curious what happens if we comment out this state. Oh, we are registering it twice, right? So we should also comment this out too, because we register it in the monster manager as well. So let's try that. Okay. Interesting. Okay, so we know this code is not the problem. It's still spawning a ton of them. Only being called in one place, just here. Okay, I think could be related to this. It's basically just calling this function a million times for each visible chunk around you. So it spawns like 6 or 7, but then it doesn't actually put them in the right chunks. They put them all in the spawning chunk. So I think that's the issue, right? I think what it's doing is it's calling the populated chunk with entities a ton of times, but then it just spawns them all in the spawning chunk. Can you make sure to spawn them in the right chunks? And it should only, well, I'm gonna prove this actually before I'm gonna reload. Yeah, see, it's called this 14 times. So it is doing that. Okay, I saw that it's calling populating chunk. It actually is calling the right chunk key. So it calls it 14 times right when you load the page, but then it loads all those monsters right in the spawn. So they need to be set to the right location, basically. So there has to be some way to know where to put the monsters based on the chunk. What do you recommend? But for now, let's just get it working. So for now, let's just load like just a few monsters. Like you can only load the chunk that you're in. Let's just start with that logic. So please modify it so that works. So it should only call it once, basically, when you load in. And it should just be the chunk that you're in. All right, let's try that. Nice. See, now there's just two, but we need to, nice. Great. So let's try entering a new chunk. See, it's probably going to load them back over there, right? Yeah. See, every time I'm entering a new chunk, it's spawning them in the spawn. So great, that kind of works. So now every time I enter a new chunk, it spawns the monsters in the spawning area. Can you make it so it spawns the monsters in the correct area? So it needs to somehow have some way of mapping a chunk key to the actual coordinates on the in the world. I see. Yeah, that's a good way to do it. You just have a config that basically says how big the chunks are, and then multiply it. Thank you. So the issue is this part. It doesn't actually pass in the position into this function, and then it doesn't use it. I think it does pass it in, but it doesn't use it here. So that's the problem. Oops, gotta go to the other place. So I think the reason it's really failing here is there's just so much integration between the files on this particular issue. So maybe let's go ahead and do something a little different. I think we can create the monster, but we actually set the position in the monster manager. That makes more sense to me. So if we move this, right, they'll spawn right here in the middle. So let's just basically make it so monster manager sets the position right here. And then we don't really have to do anything. So I want monster manager to set where the monsters spawn in this function. So I want you, right now it's calling a create, but now I want it to set the position at the end of the function for the monsters based on the chunks. Cool, let's try it. I'm not getting this error. Can you make sure to call this function correctly? Cool. All right, so let's test this. It might actually work. All right, I'll leave. Heck yeah. Nice. It's actually working. Now I just got to make sure when you leave, they disappear. That's the next part. But it's definitely spawning as you roam around now. Cool, so that works great. Can you just make sure now that when you leave the chunk that it despawns them? We should do this in the chunk entity manager. I don't know if we commented out this code or not. But okay, it kind of works. Now the only issue is when you leave and come back, they don't spawn again. So I think we added something for that. Can you check? I think we added like a, you can remove whatever we added for that. Nice. That's pretty good. Okay, cool. Cool, we got that working. Well, I'm gonna take a quick break from streaming. Anyone's watching, because I'm gonna eat.